everybody. Welcome to the PIIverse. My name's Perry. I'll be hosting your show today, as I do every day. This is going to be a quick one. Well, Perry's version of quick, because you all know that I love to talk. But anyways, this is a quick one because over the last couple days, I've been doing some, pretty substantial rebalancing, and not in the amount, but more on what I was rebalancing. It actually caused a little bit of a kerfuffle when I actually announced that I was selling HHIS, but I also did sell off some of my Coney, and I had people on my Blossom website, on my Blossom site, tell me, what the heck, did you get hacked? What's going on? Why are you selling HHIS? For those that don't know, in the YouTube world of my channel, but in the Blossom world for income investors, HHIS is almost like godlike. It's very, very popular, and you never hear anybody selling it. It's always somebody that's buying more of it. It is absolutely a core position. But so when I actually announced that I was selling some of it, people were like, jaws were dropping and people were IMing me privately. So what I wanted to do is basically, one person even asked me, can you just do a quick video to explain yourself? So anyways, that's what this is about. So this is a portfolio rebalance update of my PIIverse, why I reduced my Harvest HHIS and my YieldMax CONY positions to add positions in Evolve BIGY and Roundhill COIW. All right, so here we go. So again, Perry here. And I think I've already explained it. So over the last couple weeks, actually, I've been thinking about this for quite a while with regards to, let's talk first about HHIS, and then we'll talk about Coney. When it comes to HHIS, for those that don't know, is a cover call ETF by a Canadian cover call company called Harvest. If you are in the Blossom world and you're an income investor, I don't even have to explain to you what HHIS is. It is actually one of the pillars of what you would call your core investment that you would hold in your portfolio if you're doing income investing. Harvest is very, very well known for being an extremely stable company with regards to their ETFs, NAV stability, and their distribution stability more so than anything else. And then they came out with Harvest HHIS, which is basically an umbrella of several of their single stock ETFs that the initial bank of them came out, I think, late last year. A large number of them then showed up early this year. And they also released HHIS early this year, which basically was an all-in-one. And people have heard of what the all-in-ones are. There are a lot of all-in-ones now coming up. It's one of my favorites, is to start liking all-in-ones. And an all-in-one basically says they take a whole suite of the suite of their, let's say, category of cover call ETFs. When it comes to Harvest, it was their single stocks like PLTE, MSTE, CYNE, a whole bunch, I think 15 of them that are in there. And just recently, if it hasn't been done already, but maybe it hasn't yet, they've announced 4 more. And if they aren't in there already, they will be in there right away. So I think they're going up. They're not going to hold it at 15, but they're going to actually go up, I think, another 4. So it'll be up to 19 underlyings underneath HHIS. Again, very popular. You never hear anybody selling HHIS because they're always buying more, adding more to the position. It is a core position. So when I announced that I was selling, people were really shocked. Now, the reason I'm selling is because HHIS has become so popular in the Canadian market space for income investors that they got a lot of copycats, a lot of followers that decided, hey, we want a piece of this action too. 9 Point, I think, put one out. And Evolve, obviously, Evolve is another one that put one out. Evolve put one out called Biggy, BIGY. It's relatively new. They have a whole bunch of single stock cover call ETFs as well. And they did basically the same thing that Harvest did with theirs. They basically wrapped them all up into a new umbrella cover call ETF that was called Biggie. But they did something a little bit different. You know, everyone is trying to leapfrog the other because this is competition. You know, Harvest wants to get your money coming to them so that it increases their AUM. And of course, Evolve wants to take some of that business away from Harvest and or wants to grow their own business. So they have to always try to compete with each other. So with Harvest HHIS, very stable, was offering, you know, at inception, was offering around a 25% yield. I think it was 25 cents a unit. And they've been rock solid steady since, I think it was March. I can't remember what. It was early of this year when HHIS came out. And they've literally been solid at 25 cents the entire time. Since they've released. Well, Biggie wanted to increase that yield. So where HHIS was at 25% yield, Evolve decided to make Biggie 30%. It might be 31%, but it's around 30% yield. And the way they did it is by increasing their leverage and increasing their coverage of their underlyings. So where Harvest is basically using a 25% leverage, Evolve used, I believe, I believe it was up to 40% leverage on it, or 40% leverage. So they, or 30% leverage. They upped it a little bit. More than HHIS or Harvest did with HHIS. They also increased their coverage over Harvest. I think Harvest is at 30, and I think Evolve does theirs at up to 50%. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's bigger than that. The reason, and because they increased their leverage and they increased their coverage, those two little factors basically moved Evolve's Biggie's yield up from 25% to 30%, even though if you look at them, they're almost neck and neck. If you look at them, they almost hold almost identical underlyings. They might be a little bit different now because, for example, Harvest has now added 4 more. But at the end of the day, they were almost, verbatim the same kind of all-in-one. So that being said, the question was started to be asked is, you know what, Harvest did a great job releasing this all-in-one, but now 9Point and Evolve and those guys are now coming out with their copycat versions of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, copycat or not, there's, I've been holding a lot of other Evolve cover call ETFs, and I really honestly, for the ones that I've been holding, I've never had any problems. Matter of fact, Bank and Call, which are two of the ones I've had for a long time. I'm thinking up to 29 months. I'm just looking here. Yes. So over 2 years I've held them, and they've been rock solid steady as well. So it was a little hard when you say Harvest has got a very rock solid reputation on NAV and more so income stability. Evolve also has very rock solid NAV and income stability. So that you can't really say, well, you're taking more of a risk. The only way I'm taking a risk, I decided I wanted to move to Biggie and take some of the HHIS position down. I'm not selling all of my HHIS position. I'm only selling a part of it. I just wanted to change the target ratios so that Biggie was the larger of the two. Ultimately, I would like to see it be like a 75-25 split. Currently, I believe Harvest is holding a larger position than Biggie. Let me correct. Actually, now that I've made the correction, I can't see what it was before. Let me take a look here quickly on my spreadsheet. I might as well show you my spreadsheet so you can see what I'm working on. So if you look over here, I'm going to look at HHIS. Currently, HHIS has a 5.5%. Sorry, just looking over here. This is my total portfolio here. So total portfolio, including my stocks, HHIS holds a 4.6% position. And that's my target weight, and I'm actually at 5.5%. For ETFs only, HHIS was at a 5.5% target weight, and I'm actually at 6.2. Now, that is after I actually sold 2,400 shares, or yes, 2,400 shares. So I was even at a higher position than that. My target was 5.5. I was literally almost at, I'd say literally 8%, somewhere in that range, 8%. So I can't say literally, but 8%. So I was overweight on HHIS already. And where I go down over to Biggie has a target weight of 5%. And even after moving the money from the sales of HHIS over to Biggie, I'm only bringing it almost to target weight. So I'm doing a rebalancing in the sense that I was overweight on HHIS anyways, and I'm actually still overweight. You can see over here, I'm at 6.2 and I should be at 5.5. But I have moved Biggie closer to its target weight, almost at its target weight. I wanted a target weight of 5. I now have a target weight of 4.8. It was much lower than that before, so now this one is closer. I would like to eventually even continue doing this. I'm not going to get rid of HHIS completely. I think it's a very stable stock. It's Harvest has got a great reputation, as I said. So I'm going to likely keep some more. Where I actually sold my HHIS share or units were out of my TFSAs. I actually closed my positions of HHIS out of my TFSAs and put all of the money and the proceeds from that into buying more units into the TFSAs for Biggie. I did luckily complete the transaction for my wife's TFSA to buy Biggie, but then the price of Biggie went up quite substantially. So I'm not in any rush yet to buy it. I'm holding the money, and on my TFSA, when there's another bad market day, I will actually buy the rest of them. So I will put those positions in, and then that will likely bring me up to 5.5. So I will be a little bit over target once I buy my rest of my Biggie in here. But I have sold all of my HHIS that I was out of those two TFSAs. So the good news is I'm now down to around my target weight. I could actually go down a little more, and I might actually do that. Again, the reason is because I want to take advantage. I'm always looking at increasing and fine tuning my portfolio so that it can actually keep increasing its monthly distributions. And if I can find ways of doing it effectively without taking any risks, then I'm going to definitely do it. When it comes to Evolve versus Harvest and Biggie versus HHIS, I'm a fan of leverage. So I know some people will say, well, yeah, but Perry, you're switching to Biggie and so you're going to take more risk. It's no more risk. Well, no, because I'm an income investor, it's not more risk, it's more volatility. And if I'm never going to sell my units of Biggie anyways, all I'm going to see is that my Biggie ETF prices are going to be more volatile than that of Harvest. So I'm not afraid of leverage. I actually like more leverage. I'm hoping maybe, and I understand that Harvest is trying to establish and maintain their relationship of being rock solid, almost like buying, I don't want to say buying annuities because then people are going to get all mad at me. But literally they could go to Harvest, HHIS, or one of their stocks and know that they've got a rock solid cover call ETF that somebody that's a more conservative investor would say, well, no, I'm not interested in too much leverage. 25% is about as high as it gets. So I can understand why they would stay there. It might be nice if they might release another HHIS high performance and maybe in order to compete with Evolve, build another version of HHIS where they can actually have higher leverage and use maybe more coverage. Instead of 30%, they can go up to 50%. So that, yeah, a person like me, I don't mind more volatility. So I'd love to buy a Harvest HHIS performance that would give me a 30% yield. But since they don't, and again, I don't blame them for what they're doing or not doing, since they don't offer that, I do want to actually tap into more of Biggie's higher volatility, higher yield. And that basically has definitely improved. I believe just doing the transactions that I did just now is going to increase my monthly distributions in my TFSAs by, I think it's $400 a month. So it's nothing to sneeze at. So I'll take the $400. So that's why I did that. Okay. So I hope people understand I am not abandoning HHIS. I'm just reducing it and rebalancing it so that there's a more level playing field, and so I can tap into more of a Biggie yield and bring HHIS's yield closer to its target. It was at around 8. It's now closer to the 5.5. And again, I'm going to continue maybe bringing it down to maybe the 5% range and then move some of that all into Biggie, so that Biggie, I might actually move Biggie up to a target of 5.5 or even 6%, because I actually would like Biggie to be the larger of the two, but I will hold both. Okay, so that is the first conversation. Now, that explains my HHIS position reduction down to over to Biggie. Now the next one is not as controversial, but I have said in many cases that, I've had several conversations in my videos comparing. I keep using Coney as the poster child of a cover call ETF, an ultra yielder that has always, over the last year, has actually been eroding in its NAV value. I don't know why it's happening. They didn't have that issue in its first year of operation, but since about late 2024, they've been constantly dropping in NAV. They were in the 20s and even up to the $30 range. They're now hovering in the $6 to $7 range. Like all of 2025, Coney has been dropping in NAV. Now, their yield is the same, but their yield on a lower priced unit obviously means lower distributions. So my distributions have been dropping slowly but surely from month to month. I'm still attaining the what you call 90 or 72% yield, but of course that yield is based on a dropping price of my ETF. Now, so the question is, if I keep my position has always been that, you know what, at the end of the day, as long as it keeps paying me money, I don't mind. Let it keep going. It will never erode to zero. I know people have said that a lot of times, but it will never erode to zero. If it gets too low, it's currently at $5 or $6 right now. It's like 6 something. If it maybe drops to about $4, I have a feeling YieldMax might just turn around and do a reverse split. They'll maybe do a 4-to-1, and then we'll be back up to about $20. And again, it will continually, if they don't fix their erosion issue on the NAV, it will continually keep dropping slowly but surely. And so my income on my Coney will keep dropping slowly but surely. But the reason I didn't want to sell it and had no issues selling it is because I'm already at house money. So what does house money mean? Again, I know I've talked to some people about that, but I'm going to go to my portfolio here, back to this spreadsheet, and I'm talking about over here. Down here, the last one at the very bottom of the chart is my Coney. You are seeing it after I've made some sale already. So I currently hold 2,300 units of Coney. It was 30 something hundred. So it's gone down because I made my sales today. But anyways, it doesn't reflect that the drop. At the portfolio level, I'm right now at, I've lost 67% of my NAV since I've purchased it. So it used to be about $100,000. I've now sold 35,000 of it. So it's now at $65,000 book NAV. Its current market NAV is only 21,000. So you're like, wow, Perry, you've lost 67%. I have, but here's the thing. Even though I have done that, if you look at my current yield thing, I'm still at 7. Well, it's not 74% now. This number is, it was around 22%. It's changed now because I've sold those other shares, so I can't really count them. But the reason I want to bring this up is, where's that number? I got to show you the number. I have lost a lot, but this number over here is my total distributions received from Coney since inception, since I first bought it almost 2 years ago. So yes, I have lost, let's take a look here. I have lost $44,000 of the remaining the remaining units that I have. It was about 60,000, but at the end of the day, I have made $93,000 on all my Coney, including the shares I just dropped. So I've made more money on my Coney than basically I've paid for it. That is referred to as house money. So what that means is Coney owes me nothing. I have already made more money out of Coney than I paid for Coney. So that Coney keeps dropping in value slowly but surely. And I do hope that eventually YieldMax figures it out, whoever the fund managers that are managing it, and stabilizes it and gets it to be a more stable NAV. I don't care if it goes back up. I just want it more stable. But even if it kept slowly but surely going down, every month it still pays me. I think last month, just to give you an idea, last month it paid me $2,100, and the previous month it was $2,100 and $1,600. This is how much it's making me every month. So yeah, it might go to, $1,900, and then the next one maybe $1,800, and then the next one $1,700, and maybe it'll pop back up at $2,000. So even if in another another year or two, it keeps doing this all the way down to that it's only making me $600. Remember, I've already more than paid this off. So this is house money. This is money that's coming in. So I really didn't have a desire to really sell Coney, even though it was kept on dropping. So the question then is, why did I decide to sell? I was looking for an opportunity that if I could take the remaining NAV, now the NAV is not accurate here because this is after I made this sale, because I now only have 21,000. But if I could take the remaining NAV when I sell my units and actually buy into something that can have equal or greater monthly distributions, that would be a bonus. Also, that it would help diversify a little, because I do have a lot of Coney, and Coney was nice when it was actually in great shape. Now it's actually considered more of a dog, and it's not really as favored as it used to be, a little long in the tooth. I would like to have another version of a Coney that would actually generate as much or more yield or more distribution, but also have a more stable NAV. Even though it's more volatile, I don't mind if it has, as long as it be more stable. So I kept looking around as if I sell it, where am I going to buy? What am I going to buy? I tried one. I actually have a video that I put out, I think about a month ago, and it said when not to rebalance. Well, that was an example of where I said, why don't I sell my Coney and buy YSPY or something, which has about a 57 or a 45% yield on cost. So I was like, well, why don't I use something like that? Not that, here, 52% yield. So, but the problem is, even though it has a 52% yield, Coney at the time had a 72% yield. So by buying into something like YSPY, I was actually going to reduce my distributions, and I didn't want to reduce my distributions. So I will post the video right here, like look up there. If you want to watch that video that shows why I didn't rebalance and sell Coney and go over to YSPY, it would be a good video to watch on when not to rebalance. But now this is an example where I decided to rebalance finally. So what decision did I make? I made the decision to sell similar to what I did with HHIS and Biggie. I targeted my two TFSAs. I've left all my RIF accounts alone. So what I decided to do on my TFSAs as another major rebalance inside of it, I decided to sell all my Coney out of my TFSA and my wife's TFSA. So that's my wife's here. I sold both of all the money out of that. In mine, that was 650 units. And in my wife's, it was 700 units. I sold those. And then what I did is I did a calculation on buying into COIW. That is from Roundhill. It's definitely a newer ETF. It actually isn't a covered call ETF, which is one thing I liked. I already have a lot of coin-based derivative ETFs. For example, I have a CYNE, I have CONY, I actually have them inside LFGY. So I wanted something that would be, okay, it's still coin, but this one is not a covered call. COIW is basically a leveraged swap agreement, cover call or ETF, not cover call ETF. So it does it in a different way. It has different dynamics and it has a lot more volatility. But what I've noticed over the time is that it actually has been, even though it's volatile, it has been a lot more stable. And I'll give you a quick one here just to show you the difference. Sorry about that one. Right here. So I compared what Coney is to coin, or Coney is to COIW. And you can see the difference here is that it's actually been doing really good. It only came out, I think it looks like it only came out in March. And it actually, then of course we had the liberation period here. So everything went down. But you could see what was a benefit is when things were recovering, COIW definitely recovered much better than Coney. And the reason is that these leveraged swap agreements don't have capped upside. So when things are going up, it can capture the up. So this one, unlike down here, and this one looks stable only because all the distributions are included in both of these. But what you're seeing the difference between this guy and this guy is that even though they pay out about the same kind of distributions, the benefit of COIW is the fact that it has no capped upside. So it can actually rise with coin as much as it can fall with coin. You can see what happens with Coney. Coney can't rise all the way with coin, and when it drops just as fast. So at the end of the day, I wanted to have something that would be very similar to Coney, but would actually have a different dynamic. And that is why I decided to move my money out of Coney for my 2 TFSAs only right now and move them over into my COIW. And basically what I'm getting over there, I will notice very little change. So I'm not going to have a big change with regards to my 6-month average. A matter of fact, Coney's 6-month average is a little bit higher than COIW, but that really doesn't count because this 6-month average for Coney is actually going down. You can't see it here. This 6-month average is going down for Coney, whereas with COIW, its average is actually rising. And you can see here, this is the 6-month distribution for Coney. You can see that literally it is quite level, but it's actually dropping at times. But if you go over to COIW, you can see that the chart is slowly moving upward with distributions. So that's another positive, is that this average is likely a rising average, whereas the average that was down here, and it's an empty box now because I sold it, but this average, which was 426, is likely a dropping average. It's going to likely be 421, then it's going to be 410, and that because every month for the last couple of months, it's been going down. So I wanted to move my money out of one that kept on dropping and move it into something that's more stable. And in the long run, as if this guy can hold stable and this one keeps dropping, I'll generally be increasing because the gap is getting bigger. I will be able to hold on to my my monthly income coming from COIW better, if not rising, than if it is coming from CONY. So I might actually eventually move more of my positions out. I'm just testing it with my 2 TFSAs. I'm going to wait another couple of months and see what's happening. But if the COIW continues to perform well, again, it's not even a year old, so I want to keep watching it before I do that. I'll make decisions if, each month or each time I make a decision, I will maybe take another riff, one of my riffs, and say, okay, this riff, I'm going to sell out of my Coney, out of this riff, and I'm going to move it to COIW. And I'm going to keep doing it over a longer period of time. All right. I hope that helps. That's about it. Again, if anyone has any questions on why I made this decision or anything further about that, please tell me in the comments below. But I'm hoping that's helping. Again, I think these are always looking good, that you should always be looking for opportunities to rebalance, because if you're an income investor like I am, growing your income is as important as a growth investor growing their NAV. So I don't want to just sit on my laurels and just say, okay, I've got a good enough income, because things always need fine tuning. And some of your ETFs may not be performing as well as it has, or some of them can actually be moved into something that has a bigger opportunity. So you should always be looking at your portfolio to say, hey, which one is the one I can move out? How can I make another $100 a month? How can I make another $500 a month? You should always be looking at that so that you can always continue to increase your monthly portfolio. All right. Other than that, I hope that helped. I know this took longer than I always say it will, but until next time, stay safe, stay investing, and I'll see you in the PIIverse.